There is something critical that many doctors never get around to sharing. It's not because they lack the knowledge, but because appointments typically run out of time before they can bring it up. The reality is that your physical body can still keep working even as the vitality of your life quietly slips away around you. This is not just a metaphor, it is something I have observed happen gradually and invisibly in patients who seemed completely healthy on paper. They had normal lab work, controlled blood pressure, and absolutely nothing concerning in their charts. And yet, their vital presence was fading. Their voices grew softer, their boundaries narrowed, and choices they once made for themselves began falling into the hands of others. The majority never recognized it happening because the ordinary routines that guard against this decline are so simple and so distant from what a typical 15-minute visit can address that nobody thought to tell them. I am Dr. William Lee, a board-certified cardiologist with 32 years of clinical experience. Over that time, I have met with thousands of individuals in their late 70s, 80s, and even beyond. Throughout these decades, I have witnessed the exact same patterns recur, something that modern medical studies are only now beginning to clarify. The first group of individuals reaches 80 and is still driving to appointments, remembering every family birthday, preparing family dinners, sharing hearty laughter, and directing their own schedules. The second group begins in the very same situation, matching the age and often managing the same health diagnoses. However, at some point, their personal environments start to narrow. What truly troubled me during my decades in medicine is how few of them ever saw this decline coming. In fact, fewer than 1 in 8 seniors past 75 consistently practice all 6 key habits. If you manage to follow them, your active health places you in an exceptional group that modern science can now measure. Before we go any further, the very first habit on our list is something that only a handful of patients have asked me about in over 30 years. It has very little to do with diet or standard physical exercise in the way most people usually assume. Yet data from Johns Hopkins and the University of Edinburgh suggests it may actually be the single most powerful predictor of keeping your independence after 75. Be sure to stay with me to the end of our discussion, as this point is incredibly valuable. Please take a second to write your age in the comments and let me know which of these 6 habits you believe you are currently practicing. I personally read through all the remarks below, so please share your thoughts and let's count down from 6 to 1. Habit number 6 is walking with active intention rather than just simple movement. This is where most people get it wrong when it comes to walking in their late 70s and 80s. They tend to look at walking purely as a way to get from place to place, such as from the car to the market or moving between the bedroom and the kitchen, and call that their daily physical activity. That does not qualify as therapeutic exercise. People who experience outstanding physical aging walk with deliberate cardiovascular focus, maintaining a pace that increases their heart rate to 50 to 65% of its maximum capacity, which is very different from a casual stroll. It is a focused, sustained effort that lasts for at least 20 minutes. Past age 70, the walls of your blood vessels stiffen at a much faster rate, a biological process called arteriosclerosis. When these pathways lose their natural bounce, your heart is forced to work much harder, baseline blood pressure climbs, and the brain receives a bit less oxygen-rich blood each year. Data from the Heritage Family Study shows that sustained, active aerobic walking does not just halt this stiffening process, it actually helps restore that elasticity. You can visualize your blood vessels like a standard garden hose left baking out in the sun. They dry up, get stiff, and internal pressures increase until cracks appear near the fittings. Purposeful walking brings that flexibility back. Your basic guide, 20 to 30 minutes, 5 days a week, at a speed where you are still capable of speaking in sentences, but would struggle to sing. Here is a useful practical tip. Scheduling this walk in the morning can enhance its overall benefits. Research from the Journal of the American Heart Association indicates that morning physical exercise produces a 24-hour reduction in baseline blood pressure that afternoon workouts simply do not match. Consider the case of Walter, a 78-year-old retired engineer from Ohio. His resting blood pressure stood around 148/91, and he was taking 2 separate medications to manage it with a quiet acceptance that this was just how aging was supposed to feel. We made one simple adjustment: 30 minutes of active walking every single morning before sitting down for breakfast. In just 8 weeks, his numbers registered at 134 over 82, and 3 months down the road, he let me know that he felt like he had been handed an entire decade of his life back. That is one 30-minute daily routine delivering 10 years of vitality. Habit number 5 is prioritizing your sleep as if it were a direct medical prescription. Poor sleep in your later years is far from a simple nuisance. It is actually a slow rolling cardiovascular strain that occurs silently every night. Often, this remains completely unaddressed. Once you pass 70, the vital, slow wave deep sleep you get drops by up to 80% compared to what you experienced in your 30s. This is the precise biological window when your vascular structures repair themselves, body wide inflammation is moderated, and metabolic wastes are cleared out from your brain through the glymphatic network. If this deep sleep is compromised, that critical cellular cleanup process stays incomplete evening after evening and year after year. Investigators at UC Berkeley discovered that seniors with disrupted sleep habits showed a 68% increase in the buildup of brain plaques that are tied to cognitive changes. The strain on your heart is equally significant. Interrupted resting periods wipe out nocturnal dipping, the healthy drop in blood pressure that cardiologists consider one of the strongest markers of durable cardiovascular health. If your body misses this nighttime dip regularly, blood vessel damage piles up in the same way it would from having uncontrolled high blood pressure during the daytime. The individuals who maintain great physical vitality keep exceptionally consistent sleeping hours. They head to bed within the same 30-minute window each night and wake up at the exact same hour every morning, weekends included. They also maintain their bedrooms at a cool 65 to 68 degrees and avoid looking at screens for an hour prior to turning in. Work by researchers at Harvard Medical School notes that mentally stimulating activities right before bed delay the time it takes older adults to fall asleep by an average of 47 minutes. A quick practical strategy: try performing 10 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing prior to turning off the lights. Inhale slowly for 4 counts and exhale for 6. This exercise can lower evening cortisol stress markers by up to 22% while improving deep sleep patterns. It is completely free and may protect your cardiovascular health throughout the night more than the medications you took before bed. Habit number 4 involves managing your daily protein intake in a deliberate, distributed manner. The assumption that your body needs less dietary protein as you get older is incorrect, and it remains one of the more harmful myths running quietly through the medical landscape. After age 75, your system actually requires 50 to 75% more quality protein per pound of weight compared to a healthy 30-year-old. The physical driver here is anabolic resistance, which is the decreased capacity of mature muscle cells to respond to normal protein cues. Your muscular frame is not simply wearing out, it is just becoming harder to trigger nutritionally. Lacking that structural signal, sarcopenia, the progressive decline of active muscle mass, can easily set in. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have tied this type of physical wasting to a 47% rise in the risk of falling, alongside a 53% higher likelihood of losing basic everyday functioning over a 5-year period. Studies in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition involving over 2,700 individuals between 70 and 85 found that those who ate around 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight spread throughout several meals had a 41% reduction in fall-related hospitalizations alongside stronger overall immune support. A practical method: focus on eating 25 to 35 grams of protein at each of your 3 key daily meals. This means a solid serving of skinless chicken, fresh fish, whole eggs, plain Greek yogurt, or various beans. This distribution is key, since older digestive systems generally process around 35 to 40 grams in one sitting for muscle rebuilding. A good simple strategy: couple each protein meal with vitamin C, such as a serving of sweet peppers or a splash of citrus. Vitamin C supports the synthesis of collagen, which is critical for preserving structural tissues and keeping vascular linings robust past 75. Let me tell you about Helen, a 79-year-old retired teacher from Savannah who lost 14 pounds of valuable lean muscle within 18 months which put her physical grip strength into the bottom 12th percentile. Her primary practitioner viewed it as normal age-related loss, but it was preventable. 3 months of focusing on better structured protein choices resulted in a 9-pound gain in active muscle mass and brought her physical strength levels well up to the 55th percentile. She told me afterward that she had not even realized her physical vitality was slowly slipping away. Proper protein doesn't just support your strength, it actively preserves the physical self you want to maintain. Before we go any further, if this discussion is providing you with the type of health guidance that normal clinical visits rarely find the time to address, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and share it with a family member or friend between 70 and 90 who might need it. This channel was created to offer clear, clinically supported guidance drawn from 32 years of cardiac experience, truths that briefly structured 15-minute visits almost never touch on. We are striving to reach more people who want to understand their metrics and values. Thank you for joining us, and let's keep going. Habit number 3 is establishing and keeping at least one genuine personal interaction every day. Earlier, I mentioned there was an unexpected habit on this list, and this is indeed the one. It may sound a bit too emotional or separated from standard cardiac health to carry much weight in medicine, but it really does. An extensive study from Brigham Young University examining 300,000 participants concluded that chronic social isolation poses a lifespan risk that is equal to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Being regularly disconnected is just as harmful to your longevity as that level of tobacco use. The National Institute on Aging discovered that constant loneliness can accelerate changes in memory and focus by 64%, raise the long-term likelihood of cognitive decline by 41%, and raise inflammation markers like interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein, which physically affect blood vessel health. On the other hand, close social interaction encourages the release of oxytocin, curbs elevated cortisol levels, calms full-body swelling, and keeps your neurological network strong. Your relational brain functions much like any other physical system. The exact neurological connections that are used during genuine face-to-face conversations also support your working memory and internal identity. If these pathways stay silent for weeks at a time, the system will naturally start pruning them back, and after 75, unused cognitive paths are far more challenging to rebuild. My direct suggestion, dedicate time to at least one highly active, interactive encounter each day. This can be an open phone call with a family member, participation in a group activity, walking with a companion, or enjoying dinner with someone who gets you talking and debating. Being silently present alongside other people does not provide the same mental benefits. Your engagement must be truly active. Take the example of Dorothy, an 83-year-old client from Florida who withdrew completely after losing her husband of over 50 years. When her family brought her to me several months later, she had experienced measurable drops in memory and concentration in less than a year. Instead of introducing any brand new medical drugs, we designed a structured interactive routine, including volunteer duties, an open book club, and structured weekly family calls. Less than a year later, her memory testing values rose back near her original baselines, and her family mentioned that she was finally starting to feel completely like herself again. Consistent personal interactions past 75 are not just nice luxuries. They represent essential daily support for the brain. As an easy daily tip, combine these interactions directly with physical exercise. Data out of the University of British Columbia indicates that blending social interactions with mild activity has a powerful combined effect on BDNF, a nerve growth protein that is significantly larger than what you get from either behavior on its own. Every single time you walk and speak together with a companion, you are actively encouraging neural support inside a brain that still retains a remarkable ability to adapt. Habit number 2 is checking your own blood pressure at home with real care and consistency. As a heart specialist, this is the core recommendation I can offer you. Most individuals past 75 manage their blood pressure based on measurements taken a couple of times a year in a clinical office, getting their reading, hearing if it's fine, and going on with life for 6 months. This is simply the default medical setup, which means a lot of daily heart performance information that could protect your well-being never actually gets logged. Blood pressure is never a static figure. It varies during the day, affected by movement, stresses, quality of rest, foods with sodium, and when you take your various daily prescriptions. The Sprint clinical trial tracking 9,300 individuals demonstrated that setting a lower top target below 120 significantly lowered cardiac incidence by a quarter and lessened the risk of mortality by over 27% compared to targeting 140. While targeting this level can prevent severe health crises, achieving it requires tracking your values during daily routine, not only during a quick anxiety inducing clinic checkup. Exceptional seniors manage this actively, treating home measurement devices with the same priority a diabetic has for glucose tracking. Try checking your readings at the exact same hour every morning. Sit quietly in a comfortable chair for 5 minutes beforehand. Keep your testing cuff positioned nicely at the height of your chest, and log everything in a regular diary. The solitary reading recorded at an office clinic wall often misses the bigger picture of your heart's trends. For example, my patient Frank, a 77-year-old retired first responder, registered around 142 over 88 under his medication during office checks, which made his blood pressure appear relatively managed. But when we looked over 2 weeks of daily morning records taken at home, his values regularly stayed above 158. Plus, evenings following salty meals would occasionally lift his readings close to 170. His condition looked fine during his office visits, but his pressure wasn't truly managed during normal life. We simply shifted the time he took his medication, changed his evening sodium meals, and scheduled a brief walk prior to taking his initial daily records. A month and a half later, his home morning average hovered at a stable 128, achieved not by introducing a stronger prescription drug, but by simply discovering his actual numbers through careful logging. As an easy strategy, measure your blood pressure prior to having any caffeine. Drinking a cup of coffee can quickly raise your numbers by up to 10 points for about half an hour in older individuals. Get your readings taken first and enjoy your morning cup of coffee second. Habit number 1 is practicing daily, active cognitive efforts that introduce some intellectual challenges. Here we have the key practice I introduced at the very beginning of this video, one followed regularly by very few seniors over 75. Researchers have often described it as one of the most effective non-prescription strategies we have to help support a healthy, long life. And yet, it is almost never discussed in briefly scheduled office consultations. It is not about doing simple brain apps or passive reading. It means consistently trying to learn something genuinely unfamiliar, such as studying a new skill, trying a different language, or learning a musical instrument that demands deep focus. Once you cross 75, the mind relies heavily on existing cognitive routes to preserve vital energy by defaulting to familiar habits. While this makes life easier, it can deplete your cognitive reserve, which is the internal buffer that helps cushion your mind from standard age-related decline. You can think of it like system memory on a computer. The more you have built up, the better your system runs when facing everyday changes. Additionally, there is a physical vascular link here. The exact same risk elements that impact heart health, like high blood pressure, vessel stiffness, and missed nightly dips, also affect healthy blood flow directly to the brain, contributing to a quicker rate of mental aging. Findings in the Framingham Heart Study support this connection. Keeping your memory and focus sharp is not isolated from caring for your heart, but rather works alongside it. Data from the University of Edinburgh's Lothian birth cohort study followed more than 1,000 individuals as they entered their late 80s and discovered that those dedicating half an hour each day to unfamiliar, difficult learning tasks showed near 50% slower rates of structural brain change and were much less likely to face cognitive diagnoses. Studying another language, for example, has been shown to defer the start of typical memory issues by a few years. Picking up a new instrument challenges manual skill, sound recognition, working recall, and mood regulation all in one unified task. The important point to remember here is active engagement. Observing tutorials online isn't the same as actually holding the instrument and practicing it. Practicing chord shapes yourself and working through a physical arrangement, that hard cognitive focus is where the growth happens. That slight frustration is the exact indicator that your brain is actively working. This daily resistance is not something to steer clear of. It acts as a primary tool to keep you mentally fit. Consider Robert, a 79-year-old former civil engineer. He started finding it hard to remember specific names and stay focused on more intricate daily discussions. Alongside reviewing his standard cardiac treatment plans, we recommended that he pick out a highly complex subject he'd always had an interest in and spend some time learning it each day. He chose oil painting, noting frankly from the outset that his earliest work was not very polished. Fast forward 18 months. He completed over 20 separate paintings, joined a vibrant painters group, and had follow up reviews showing improved scores in several major areas of focus. He was showing active mental gains at 79 years of age, not simply coasting. To support this habit, try combining these fresh intellectual activities with healthy DHA fats from foods like salmon or high quality dietary oils. Research indicates that seniors who have higher levels of these critical fats often absorb much greater neurological benefits from brain training efforts. These essential nutrients function as structural support for newly developing neurological networks. I have provided the detailed medical references below in the information section so you can easily review them and discuss them with your own medical practitioner. After 3 decades of supporting seniors through these years of life, let me share a candid perspective. This specific decade of life between 75 and 85 is occasionally seen by general public perceptions and sometimes by medical settings as simply a final waiting room of sorts, a phase focused purely on comfortable maintenance rather than actual living. That is not the case. Your cognitive focus and heart health past 75 or 85 retain a very durable, medically demonstrated potential to adapt and stay vital. These systems don't work despite your age, they work along with it. The 6 healthy steps we discussed today, focusing on daily walking, protecting rest, distributing daily protein, keeping strong connections, logging home blood pressure, and trying demanding intellectual tasks, aren't designed to miraculously turn back time. They exist to maximize your functional health during the years ahead. It means maintaining the capability to drive yourself, keeping your mind organized enough to locate where you placed your car keys, preparing dinner for family visits, being someone whose experience and suggestions carry respect, and laughing genuinely at stories told by younger generations. This represents the absolute peak of daily independence. It is exactly what is meant by high quality of life. I have witnessed this potential realized in patients who had previously assumed there were no fresh avenues of self care left to consider. It is never too late to take that first step. If you haven't done so yet, please click the subscribe button. Each week, I will continue sharing clear, clinically sound advice developed over decades of active cardiology work, truths that are usually cut out of short, standard clinical appointments. Our goal is to bring reliable information to as many people as possible, so please hit the like button and forward this information to someone in their 70s or 80s who could find it helpful today. Tell me your age in the comments section. Let me know which of these habits you feel strongest in and note which area you plan to start working on. I read through every answer. In our upcoming discussion, I am going to review a common compound kept in up to 40% of home cabinets among older adults that silently limits the positive effects of 3 major habits. Be sure to subscribe and see what it is before your upcoming trip to the pharmacy. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you next time.